Now on FiOS 1 News, New Jersey's top lawmakers are sending a warning about Supreme Court pick Brett Kavanaugh. They claim women and minority rights are under attack. Plus, fall-like conditions have taken over the Jersey Shore. The beaches are basically blank with just a few days until the end of summer. And West Nile virus is back with a vengeance. More cases come to the Garden State. We have ways to battle back against those nasty mosquitoes. The news starts right now.
FiOS 1 News, Daytime Edition.
And good afternoon. Thank you for being with us. I'm Brian Webb. We're going to have your top stories coming right up in a moment. First, a check of the forecast with meteorologist Brittany Bohr. Brittany, starting to feel a little like fall out there.
Brian, temperatures definitely feeling more like fall than like summer, what we've seen in the past couple of weeks. Trending in the 60s right now. We still are seeing a lot of rain moving off to the north, but scattered showers still popping up throughout the Garden State, and we're dealing with cloudy skies that will linger throughout the rest of the afternoon into the evening time frame. We could even see a couple of thunderstorms as we get into the overnight hours. Stick with me and I'll have a full look at the forecast coming up.
Windy, rainy, cloudy, and cool. That's what it's like along the Jersey Shore this afternoon. And yes, technically, it's still summer. FiOS 1's Brianne Talaka is in Point Pleasant.
Places like the aquarium and arcade are full this afternoon as families look for places to pass the time out of the rain.
We saw baby turtles, seals, and stingrays.
People who were hoping to enjoy a beach day are disappointed with how things turned out.
Very gusty, unpredictable, rainy.
Rainy, windy, not nice.
Some are trying to look on the bright side.
Yeah, we were hoping for better weather today, but it's still not as bad as it could be.
With the aquarium, the restaurant, and the arcades open, it's business as usual for us.
By still finding a way to enjoy the waves.
We stopped and took a picture of them.
And the waves behind me are huge, and when you factor in the wind and rain, flooding can be a concern for coastal areas. In Point Pleasant, Brianne Talaka, FiOS 1 News.
Well, crews are working to get the power back on to thousands of Morris County customers. JCPL says more than 2,000 customers lost power this morning after an equipment failure. NJ.com is reporting the outages were caused by a fire at a Jersey Central Power and Light substation. Riverdale police used generators to power traffic lights at the Hamburg Turnpike. The power company expects the repair work to take several more hours. Some of New Jersey's elected leaders are warning what's at stake if Brett Kavanaugh is confirmed to the Supreme Court. But is it too little, too late? FiOS 1's Jessica Orban has more from New Brunswick.
Hashtag What's at Stake, a social media movement that has surfaced after a week of contentious hearings over Brett Kavanaugh's Supreme Court nomination. The hashtag has been used to shed light on Kavanaugh's past and, if confirmed, predict what the future of America could look like.
Justice Kavanaugh could be the justice who upholds Donald Trump's most disgraceful policies and sets back our nation's progress for a generation.
On Monday, U.S. Senators Bob Menendez and Cory Booker joined Congressman Frank Pallone at Mount Zion AME Church in New Brunswick. They believe Brett Kavanaugh's nomination to the Supreme Court would be dangerous for New Jersey residents.
There's a case in Texas where the Trump administration is arguing that the Affordable Care Act's protections for pre-existing conditions are unconstitutional. In a state that has 3.8 million New Jerseyans who have a pre-existing condition that we fought to protect against the discrimination by insurance companies, that case is monumental.
In criticizing Kavanaugh and what they say are flaws in his confirmation process, the elected officials started with the man who nominated him, President Trump.
This is a president who stokes racial hatred for political gain on a regular basis, who thinks being wealthy is the same thing as being worthy, who judges immigrants on the color of their skin and the nation of their origin.
The rights of women and minorities, namely Roe v. Wade, have been hot topics during Kavanaugh's confirmation hearings. Senator Cory Booker, whose position on the Senate Judiciary Committee has called on him to question not only Brett Kavanaugh but his fellow senators, says the process lacks the necessary transparency.
We have a constitutional obligation to advise and consent, and you cannot do either of those things unless you can scrutinize the record of the person before us. They are hiding 90% of his relevant work.
A vote on Kavanaugh's confirmation is set to happen within the next 2 weeks. In New Brunswick, Jessica Orban, FiOS 1 News.
The death toll related to 9/11 continues to rise, with diseases on track to overtake deaths from the actual attacks. Our partners at LOHUD.com report respiratory diseases struck World Trade Center rescue and recovery workers first. Then it's now become various forms of cancer. The rate of some cancers among first responders is now up to 30% higher than the general population. By the end of this year, there could be more people killed from toxic exposure than were killed on 9/11. You can find the full story at LOHUD.com. And the author of that story, Nancy Cutler, will be a guest on Richard French Live tonight at 6 p.m. And Morris County is remembering the victims of the 9/11 terror attacks. The county held its 17th annual remembrance yesterday with an emphasis on the 64 victims from Morris County. This year's keynote speaker was Port Authority police officer Will Jimeno, who along with his partner was buried under the rubble in the South Tower for 13 hours. They were the subject of Oliver Stone's World Trade Center movie.
They went and got more equipment while I stood up and had to look into the lobby of 2, where I saw, again, horrific things. At the same time, I saw a lot of love. I saw people helping each other. When they came back up, we started making our way from Tower 1 to Tower 2. Midway there, that's when the building collapsed on us and we were caught in the epicenter. It left 3 of us alive. I lost 2 of my teammates, Christopher Amoroso and Antonio Rodriguez, and we were fighting for our lives.
The names of the 64 Morris County residents killed were read aloud at the ceremony. Be sure to stay with FiOS 1 News for our extensive live coverage from Ground Zero. We will bring the September 11th Remembrance Ceremony to you in its entirety, beginning at 8:30 tomorrow morning. Back to school is put on hold for some high school students in Middlesex County because of mold. North Brunswick Township parents got a letter Friday morning alerting them to the problem. The district says the final results won't be in until the 14th, but that is delaying the start of the school year. Moisture and heat are being blamed. Well, the governor seems to be coming up short in funding some of his progressive promises. According to NorthJersey.com, Governor Murphy was banking on strong economic growth to raise money, but is falling short by around $300 million so far. That means Murphy may have to cut programs or raise taxes to make up the difference. It includes funding for public schools, free community college, and tax credits for low and moderate income families. Murphy is in part blaming the Christie administration's past policies. He says could have added $2 to $3 million a year from financial growth. Well, it's back to normal on the NJ Transit rails today. Regular weekday service is now in effect in and out of New York City. This is after a pole came crashing through a train Friday night, causing more than 20 other trains to be delayed. There was a possibility work would continue through the Monday morning rush hour, but again, Amtrak has completed the necessary repairs. Well, donors came out in droves and dug deep into their pockets last year to support Rutgers University. The school raised $223.4 million in 2017-2018, and that's the highest amount in university history. The contributions come from 50,000 alumni and others, shattering the previous record of $209 million. That money will go toward student scholarships, research, and new programs and new facilities. The West Nile virus is on the rise in New Jersey. Coming up, how to protect yourself from mosquitoes spreading the disease. That's next.